Power Rangers in video games. Now, recently they haven't had a good track record. Reader's Rewind was released a few years ago, and when it dropped, it was plagued with problems. And by the time they fixed it, people just stopped caring about the game. Now, Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, that was great because it got a lot of people invested in the fighting games community about Power Rangers, but the game has been left for dead for about 5 years at this point with no signs of new DLC or content. The only Power Rangers game that's been going strong for almost a decade at this point is Power Rangers Legacy Wars, and that's a mobile game. But one thing I've noticed trending is retro video game collections. Games from older systems are starting to get these remastered ports or collections, and one thing people have been asking for the longest time is, where is the Power Rangers Retro Collection? Because the company known for working on Reader's Rewind, known as Digital Eclipse, has been releasing these retro collections and remasters for some time now. They started off with the Mega Man Legacy Collection, and then they've done other things like the TMNT Collection, the Mortal Kombat Collection, the Medieval Remaster, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Earliest Days Collection, and more recently the Toy Story Retro Roundup. So, the question on everyone's mind is, will they do a Power Rangers Retro game collection eventually? So in this video, I'll be making my own Power Rangers retro video game collection with what I would like to see in there. So if your favorite retro Power Rangers video game isn't in there, don't get mad, don't freak out. Just leave a comment with your personal list with what you would like to see in the comment section down below. So first on the list is a no-brainer, the MMPR video game. Now this one was released on most major consoles back in the day, and most of them were very different from one another. MMPR on the SNES and Game Boy was a side-scrolling beat-em-up, and the MMPR game on the Genesis and Game Gear was a fighting game, while the Sega CD version was a DDR-style game with a low-resolution episode of Power Rangers playing in the background. So I feel like with this list you can probably include most of those titles on there except the Sega CD version. I mean, you could include it, but they might have to add in like a fresher and more better looking episode of the Power Rangers episode they're playing in the background with better quality, because that stuff blown up on a widescreen TV won't look good, I will say that. Now with the MMPR movie, the video game, you've got to have all the versions on there, Nintendo, Sega, all of them, you've got to have all of them on there because they're all different and they're all unique, and I think having all those different versions of the MMPR movie on there would be really cool to see. Now next up is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Fighting Edition. Compared to the Sega ports of the MMPR video game I mentioned earlier, this one actually feels like a fighting game. I mean, you can play as the Zords, you can play as the villains, the monsters, even Ivan Ooze is a secret unlockable boss in this game. And if this Fighting Edition actually made it to like a retro collection, I can actually see this one getting online play. Now, Power Rangers Zeo did get a few video games back in the day, but they weren't that good. There was Battle Racers, which was this weird Mario Kart clone, and then there was Versus the Machine Empire, which was this side-scrolling platform beat-em-up that was on the PC back in the day that wasn't that good as well. And there was also Power Rangers Zeo Full Tilt Pinball Battle, and that's pinball. I don't think people want to play pinball on a retro collection when it comes to Power Rangers. So Zeo, although they had a couple of video games, none of them were really that good back in the day, and I don't think they would have the quality to qualify to be on a retro collection. Alright, so this is where things are going to get tricky because we've got a lot of different ports to go over, and if I don't include someone's favorite, I'm probably going to get a lot of angry comments. So, first up is Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue that came out on PS1, N64, PC, Mac, and Game Boy Color. And when it comes to this game, we're putting the PS1 and Game Boy Color version on there, mostly because they're the versions I grew up with, and from what I've seen over the past couple of years, they're the versions that still hold up to this very day. Next up is Power Rangers Time Force. So Power Rangers Time Force had several different ports as well, that being PC, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, and PlayStation. Now the PC version I played a little bit as a kid. It was mostly like an activity game center, nothing too special, just a bunch of mini games you can play, but aren't very surface level. I feel like the other ports would sort of benefit being on here, the PlayStation, the Game Boy Advance, and the Game Boy Color, because they're all very different compared to one another. So having all three of those versions on there would be a pretty good compromise, having all those Time Force games on there. But if I could only have two, it would probably be the Game Boy Advance and the PS1 game on there. Now the Disney era of Power Rangers is interesting. Most of their Game Boy Advance games feel the same, that being Ninja Storm, Dino Thunder, and SPD. Now, all of them are side-scroll and beat-em-ups with different powers for the different ranges and different ways to play the Megazord and different ways you can platform around the game. The Wild Force Game Boy Advance game is kind of different, but I'd probably have all the games on there that I just mentioned, because that way you've got Lightspeed to SPD on there, and you've got that nice consistency of seasons on that list. Now, I know there were other Power Rangers games around this time and came after these ones that I just listed, and by today's standards, they do qualify as retro. Things like Dino Thunder on PS2, Super Legends on PS2 and DS, and Power Rangers Samurai on Wii. But out of all of them, I'd probably have Super Legends on PS2 on there, because the Dino Thunder PS2 game is not that fun, and the Power Rangers Samurai game on the Wii, well, it's on the Wii, so you heavily rely on the nunchuck and the Wii remote to sort of do your attacks and do your samurai symbols, so it wouldn't really hold up on a modern day port, because there would have to be a lot of tweaks and changes to the controls for that game. So I don't really see that game getting a port in the nearby future, but capping the list off at Power Rangers Super Legends is a good way to sort of end the list, because that game came out for the 15th anniversary of Power Rangers, and the PS2 version of that game is probably like the best one out of all of those ports. But what do you guys think of this Power Rangers retro game collection list? Did I leave anything out there? What would you include and what would you change to it? Tell me in the comments section down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. And with that said, I will catch you guys later. Peace out, take care, bye.